Previously on the Clean Energy Show.
Your back seems still painful. How did that go? The chiropractor didn't fix you?
Yeah, I've been twice to the chiropractor.
Twice?
Helped a little bit, but I'm still, still not great. So yeah, I'm having to adjust my podcasting position.
What do you think is going to happen with this?
I think I'm going to need a full spine replacement.
Do we have any donors in the audience? Anybody who has an extra spine?
1877 spines for Brian. 1877 spines for Brian. 1877 spines for Brian. Donate your spines today.
This is the Clean Energy Show with Brian Stockton and James Whittingham.
Hello and welcome to episode 94 of the Clean Energy Show. This is the 2021 year-end spectacular. I'm Brian Stockton.
And I'm the spectacular James Whittingham. Happy New Year, everyone. Hope you're having a great year. We're going to look back at this year that was 2021. Look forward to next year with some predictions. Talk about our favorite EVs that came out this year and what's coming next year. And Brian's holiday gift guide for the electrical utility that has everything. And if that's not enough, we're going to have a quiz show where Brian is the contestant. So cheer him on and play along at home on the latest edition of the Clean Energy Show.
You know, I'm really looking forward to the quiz segment because it's been, of course, the Professor's Tournament on Jeopardy lately, which I've been playing. And, you know, I mean, I don't want to brag, but I suspect I could win that.
I should throw in some skill testing questions, some geographial questions.
I don't know any of those.
Math? Are you strong at math? What are you strong
I can't do that either.
Where are your strengths, Mr. Stockton?
Comic books.
Comic books. Okay. What year was issue number 1 of Wonder Woman?
I don't actually know, but it would be around, 1943?
No, I don't know.
That's just a guess.
I know less, so yeah.
Sorry, I looked it up. 1941 for Wonder Woman. I said 43.
Well, you were close. I'll give that to you. That's close enough. That's a win for Mr. Stockton there.
That's I really get the dopamine rush from that dingy bell. That's
yes,
great.
That's what it's meant for, the dopamine ding. That's what I call it. Yeah. So this year, there's been some disappointment this year and some positivity. Supply shortages across the globe have created some problems, right? Some supply chain issues, and there seems to be a crunch on EV batteries, and EVs in particular, because everybody's buying them.
Yeah, and something that maybe doesn't get talked about quite enough, but the pandemic has forced us to regress a lot in, our habits. Like, we had gotten away from, using disposable bags at the grocery store, but, with everyone worried about, picking up COVID from contact, we've regressed in many ways in some of that recycling stuff. So, that's, just another thing we got to get back to.
McDonald's has come out with a paper straw now.
Oh.
And when I had my colonoscopy,
they used a McDonald's paper straw?
No, I don't think so. But, it's a nice hygienic way to dispose of something and environmental.
Yeah.
I got a milkshake afterwards because you don't eat for a while and you get starved.
Yeah.
And I treated it wasn't very good at all.
Uh-huh.
But I will note that they came, because I said paper straws will never work in milkshakes because the suction created will create a problem. Well, sure. McDonald's has solved it. They have a shake capable straw made out of cardboard.
Is it thicker than their normal straw?
I don't know because I haven't had the normal straw yet at McDonald's. I've had it at other places. The normal, I would say, it's thicker than the normal straw. But almost
it worked
like,
and it didn't collapse toward the end of the milkshake?
No, it didn't.
Wow.
Of course, I'm a fast milkshake drinker. I mean, they don't sit around for very long, so it's hard to tell. Yeah. If you are a normal person and eat slowly, I hate you, for one.
Careful of the brain freeze.
Oh, the brain freeze, yes. Maybe it prevents brain freeze. But anyway, I wanted to talk about, solar has made a lot of progress this year. Wind has made a lot of progress, particularly in offshore, and it's coming to the United States for the first time in offshore. But we talk a lot about electric vehicles on the show because you and I both like electric vehicles. We were all about electric vehicles our whole lives waiting to get one. And we finally have our first electric vehicle. So it's near and dear to our hearts. And it's also at sort of an inflection point where more and more people that aren't first adopters are getting on board with this. And it's just, it's going to fall over the cliff pretty soon if they can make enough of them. And I don't know that they can for the next 3 years, but we'll see. So I wanted to talk about the most important EV of the year as far as advancing EVs in the planet. Now, there was several new EVs this year. I mean, the Tesla Model S Plaid was, a highlight. It is very fast and very nice. And what do you think of the Plaid?
And it's very expensive. So,
yes, it's very expensive.
I know you don't like talking about expensive vehicles. Because, the main point here is mass adoption. But, it's they're the technology leader and, technology invented, it's kind of like, when they invented that pen that could be used in space, it cost like $1 million to invent a ballpoint pen that would work in space.
Yeah.
When they could have just used a pencil. But, you start with the expensive stuff first and the technology eventually trickles down.
And next thing you know, you have a pen on planet Earth, which you can use upside down.
Yeah.
Well, the Rivian RT1 is the first electric mass-produced pickup really to get to market. In my mind, in most people's minds, at least from a Western perspective. It is made by startup Rivian, which everyone likes and is legit. And Amazon bought 100,000 pre-orders and invested in them. Did Ford invest in them and then back out, I think? Or GM invested
Yeah, I've
back
lost
out.
track of that, but yeah.
One of the two, GM or Ford, invested and then backed out. I think it was GM. So the RT1 has gotten excellent reviews. People were driving it a couple of months ago in Colorado. They brought out all the YouTubers and car review press media types. And by God, Brian, it looked really impressive to me. Did you like it? Were you impressed by it?
Yeah, it's a really solid vehicle. Again, there's that price problem, but no, it looks fantastic. I would love to have a Rivian, and I'm not really a pickup truck guy. But yeah, it's a spectacular vehicle.
I agree. And they say it is the most capable off-road vehicle there is. Some people are saying that. Just because you've got a electric motor at each wheel, which is instantly responsive, has all of its torque to get over rocks or moon rocks or whatever you're driving on. It is touted as an adventure vehicle. It is smaller than a Ford F-150. They say it kind of looks like a Ford Explorer, but it's bigger than that. It's actually bigger than that. And it's a 4-seat cab with a small back, and it charges fast. They're building their own Rivian network. It is Electrek's, the primary automotive electric blog, I guess you could say, focusing a lot on Tesla and other electric vehicles. But Electrek says that the RT1 is the vehicle of the year because it is faster than most sports cars, which is one of these things that you're going to find with pickup trucks. Now, this is only a North American problem because North Americans buy their pickup trucks, so we like them a lot for some stupid reason. The rest of the world doesn't care so much unless you're a contractor or actually need a pickup truck for something. So yeah, they said that's what we're going to find is with pickup trucks, they're going to be faster than the sports car. I said the Tesla Cybertruck, you get a free Porsche with it because off the line it's faster than a Porsche 911. And if you're in the market for a truck, why not have a free Porsche sports car too? That's a really cool aspect of these things. They're going to be really fun to drive. And if you're a person who wants a pickup truck for the sake of having a pickup truck, chances are you like some fast acceleration. So it says Electrek says it can go off-road where no other production vehicle can go.
Yeah, and there's that benefit of the batteries are down low, like in most electric vehicles. So I imagine that helps with the off-road capability, having that low center of gravity.
Now, the Ford Mustang Mach-E, which is a crossover and doesn't really have a lot to do with the actual Mustang from Ford in the past, it has been chosen by Kelley Blue Book as the EV Best Buy of 2022. That is this coming year. They just announced that. We talked about it in the last show. The automotive research company praised the Mach-E both for its day-to-day usability and performance, and even dubbed it the sports car of SUVs, thanks to its ability to combine practicality and driver enjoyment, such as fast acceleration, especially in the more sportier trim lines. easygoing suspension, lack of road noise, lots of positives there, lots of leg room, bit pricey. Dual zone climate control, which is something that Hyundai has, a basic on their models. I also learned, we're talking about shopping for cars and how Hyundai, Kia is competing with my Toyota. Well, they're throwing in free sunroofs on their base models. That's interesting that they would do that.
Hyundai's always been very good in terms of, stacking up in terms of features with other car companies. So, Yeah, that's great.
So that's what the piece of cheese they're throwing in there for people who are maybe wanting to move away from Toyota. And you can't, like I said, you can't even buy a Toyota Prius or a Prius plug-in hybrid right now. Maybe that'll change, but anyway, just the thing about the sunroof is that they're heavy, so they add weight to the car. So that's kind of unusual for an EV to, graciously throw that in, or a plug-in electric hybrid. Anyway, Green Car Reports, they're finalists. They haven't announced their car of the year yet, but their finalists are the Hyundai Ioniq 5, the Lucid Air, which is the really expensive, what is it, $180,000 US? Something like that. 1,000-kilometer range car, luxury full-size sedan. The Mercedes-Benz EQS, which has received a lot of praise this year, but that again is a luxury car. And the Rivian R1T again, which is Rivian's small or medium-sized pickup. The Volkswagen Id4 is another one, and I don't think that one's going to win. Now, I was a big Id4 fan when it came out, but after seeing everything else, I'm thinking, Volkswagen's a little behind, especially on their charging speed. So, yeah, the Green Car Reports, interestingly, has a cutoff for their PHEVs at 50 kilometers, which... it's another advantage of the Hyundai Ioniq plug-in hybrid electric vehicles, that it has 47 kilometers range over Toyota's 40, but not quite the 50 kilometer range cutoff for Green Car Reports. But still, when you're talking about, that's almost 25% more. It's 20% more. You range around town, you're that much less likely to have that engine kick in for running your errands or whatever you're doing.
Yeah, well, as we discussed last week, Hyundai are still kind of the new kids on the block, and, they got to try harder.
So the Top Gear listed, so they don't do specific EVs, but a lot of EVs were on the top list of their categories this year, and their family car of the year was the Mustang Machi. Practical, yet also fun. It adds a bit of excitement to the rather mundane crossover segment. Luxury award went to Mercedes EQS. And this, again, is just cars, period, not just electric cars. What do you think about those?
Yeah, those are decent cars. I think the Tesla Model Y probably came out in the previous year, right? So people are not talking about that so much. So, Tesla still has probably the stronger vehicles in most of these segments. But, it's great that everyone else is catching up.
I wonder if I could afford a Tesla, if I would buy a Tesla right now with a year wait for a Y. Because it could get worse. That wait could actually get worse.
I think, their Texas factory should open this year. So I can imagine the wait times are going to start to drop soon.
Forbes picked the RT1 from Rivian as their electric vehicle of the year by bringing EV reality to the segment and by being stylish, capable, innovative vehicle in its own right. Brian, what is your favorite new EV of the year?
Well, I'm going to go with the Hyundai Ioniq 5 because it is a reasonably priced vehicle. And yes,
that's correct. That's what I picked as well.
Answer.
That's what I picked as well.
Yeah, and of course we could throw in the Kia EV6, which is a very similar car, which is built on the same platform.
I would disqualify it for not being available yet anywhere.
Well, that is, of course, the tricky part. Yes, technically the Rivian truck is available. They have sold a few, so maybe we're jumping the gun here, but it has been, pretty widely reviewed. So, I think it's fair to pick it.
Now, the Ioniq 5 is very interesting because it's competing with a lot of the other SUVs in the category, and yet it's sort of, it's got this great, unique style that isn't wonky like the Toyota Prius or anything like that, or the first Leafs. It's distinct, but it's much liked. For the most part, it's very much liked as a unique style. So the styling on the exterior is very interesting, but it's also really fun to drive. It's got fast charging speed, good range. And that's one thing that we find lacking on our EVs these days is the charging speed, because that's where, it's almost more important than battery size, really, when it comes down to it. It can be.
And it's a decent-sized car with a very large wheelbase. It is one of those cars, I think, that is bigger than it looks. It kind of looks like an old Honda Civic or something. It looks really small, but it's got a very large wheelbase, massive interior room. I don't know if they're calling it a crossover or an SUV or something, but it's really a hatchback. It's like a large hatchback.
I disagree. I know it looks like a hatchback, and very much if you look at it in some pictures, but I've seen the reviews that say, no, this is not a hatchback. I know it looks that way, they say. You get into it and you look at the sizing of it, it's a crossover all the way. Now, crossovers aren't huge, but they're also not a hatchback. They are bigger. Yeah. They are going to give you more headroom, more room off the ground, which I run into problems with the Prius sometimes. In fact, we lost the bottom of the Prius somewhere. Hard to say where. But, they have aerodynamic covers on the bottom. There's not a lot of clearance on that. There's a lot more in my 2013 Nissan Leaf. So, yeah, these cars, they have bigger wheels. So I think some of them have 16-inch wheels, and they have better clearance, more headroom, more legroom. And like you said, the wheelbase, the length between the two axles is huge. They really stretched that out. And that has enabled them to sort of have lots of room inside the car. And the features like I really love it for having a recliner where your feet go up. You could sit at a charger and have a good nap, not like a car. And, the optional movie projector and screen is one thing too. But I don't think anyone's going to buy that. Yeah,
and of course, this is the eGMP platform from Hyundai Kia. And it is a very large wheelbase, so this is the platform that it appears that they've thrown their weight behind, and because it's a long wheelbase, they should be able to make other even bigger cars on the same platform, and bodes well for the future of Hyundai Kia.
Now, none of these new crossover SUVs are great at towing, if anyone's interested in that. I think the Model Y does the best, but some of these are, it's mostly, the EVs are very capable of towing because often has a lot to do with the transmission on gas vehicles, so you don't have to worry about that here. It's mostly about the suspension and just how much range it'll take off right away. So, yeah, let's talk about where we are then on the state of EVs right now, Brian. Rivian is building a second manufacturing plant in the U.S. They just announced that recently. That's going to be built in Georgia, and production will start in 2024. Feels like 2 years. In a couple of weeks, it'll be 1 year, right? I mean, that's 2024 is closer than we think is kind of my theme, because we're still stuck at the very end of 2021 here. But yeah, that's going to be coming up quickly. And apparently there's 13 electric vehicle battery plants that are planned for the United States for the next 5 years. That's just the United States. That's not everywhere else, like Mexico and Canada, and then China and other places near China that are going to be crazy, and Europe as well, building as many batteries as they humanly can. So that's probably going to raise the price of things till that gets online.
Yeah, and we talked a couple of weeks ago about how Elon Musk is kind of the John D. Rockefeller of clean energy. And, the more I think about it, the more I think that has to do with batteries. So there's lots of aspects to clean energy, like solar panels and wind turbines. But that stuff is in many ways already kind of figured out, but it's the scaling up of batteries that hasn't totally been figured out. And I think that's where the real gold rush or the real oil rush is going to be in clean energy. And, that's why Tesla Battery Day was so exciting, over a year ago. You and I watched that and were quite excited. Other people seem to think it was a bit of a snooze. But it was exciting because that's the blueprint. That's the blueprint to replace oil. It's not just batteries, because batteries already are good enough. It's really about scaling them up, and essentially, whoever can make the most batteries is going to win.
We don't have figures on the EV penetration for the year yet. We'll get to those in the new year when we get them. But global EV penetration in October was about 10.4% of all new vehicles sold had a plug in them. And the year to date before that was 8%. So Yeah, it's up. It's up, and we think it'll be up. I think 2022 is going to be a good year for EVs. I think we're going to, I think that's when it's going to come to the Europe's numbers are going to start coming to the United States and things like that, and China's going to take off even more.
Yeah, it's all based around production. How many ever EVs can be made will be sold. So, this is a number that's going to ramp quickly.
So EV sales growth was the highest in China at 117% year over year. That is really significant. Followed by the US at 56% and Europe at 27%, but Europe was already quite high, so you can already see the United States starting to catch up. And globally, we had a rise of roughly 73%, we figure, according to some estimates. 17% in Europe, 15% for China, and that's probably going to go up to 20% this year. 5% in the U.S. I predict 8% maybe. Do you have any predictions for the United States EV penetration this coming year? I think it's going to move.
Yeah, I think it should be significant for sure.
I'm feeling less optimistic about Volkswagen than I was a year ago. Are you? I mean, we were kind of all excited about the Id4, the pricing of it, the excitement of it. But a lot of the reviews are a bit tepid on the drivability of it, the usefulness of it. It's very utilitarian, but the competition is sort of edging it out.
Yeah, well, of course, Volkswagen has seemed to be, of the legacy automakers, the ones most serious. And Herbert Diess, the CEO, has been very vocal about the importance of switching to EVs. That's been tempered somewhat, over the last year because, of course, now they've got to do it. And he's faced opposition within Volkswagen, and it's very clear that it's a very large ship that they got to turn around there. So, still promising. They certainly still have big plans for large numbers of electric vehicles, but it's one of those things where they got to prove it.
Yeah, we'll see when they're opening a U.S. plant to start making these. Right now, they're shipped from Germany, so maybe they can lower the price. They can knock $3,000-$4,000 off and compete a bit better if they start pumping these out in the United States as well. So as of December 1st, there were more than 15 U.S. states that had pledged to phase out sales of new cars that have combustion engines. So, this is an oil ban on 15 U.S. states, and 2 more have moves pending. So that actually encompasses more than 50% of the population in the United States. So you can look at the United States and say, hey, they're laggards, but there's a lot of people in the United States, a lot of places that are progressive and moving on climate. So that's encouraging. Now, the cars to look for in 2022, I figure, and you may add to this, the mythical Toyota BZ4X, which I'm never going to remember the name of, ever.
It's a terrible
I could
name.
own one in my driveway for 2 years and not remember what it's called. This is my Toyota EV BZ4. Come on, Toyota. You're not trying.
It's like having a crappy license plate number that you can't remember.
Yes, it is. I should get that as my personalized plate if I ever do buy one, which I don't know if I will.
BZ4X, then you'll remember.
They said mid-year they might be available somewhere. And and they're going to be starting to be made only in Japan, so it's a limited number. And I would imagine there's a large loyalty to Toyota. And a lot of people with their Prii wanting to move into a all EV brand, just waiting. But have they left? Will I leave just before that? I think I will. I don't want to, but that's what's going to happen.
Well, you're going to have to because your lease is coming up soon.
Fight it against time, Brian, just like everything. It's all a battle with time my whole life. The Ford F-150 Lightning, I think, is going to be the hugest vehicle next year, literally and figuratively. That is going to change the landscape of the North American because it's the number one selling vehicle. It is going to show people, if nothing else, that EVs are capable. Anyone who's not paying attention will be paying attention. Everyone will know, at least in North America, that EVs rock. And the announcement of the F-150 Lightning was just a huge event in and of itself.
Yeah. It really signaled a change in the landscape. It was a stamp of approval of sorts from Legacy Auto, and something that lots of people who are not early adopters, people not like us, people who drive giant pickup trucks, that was a thing that they really noticed.
And then you look at North America, there are countless fleet operators, like companies construction outfits, different people that own fleets of pickup trucks, and some of them, many of them, want to be green, or at least try it out. And so you're going to see these on the street, and man, I'm telling you, the tipping point is coming, Brian, very soon. I don't think we'll make it through another year without that thing tipping over. The EV adoption cart will tip. The Cadillac Lyric is another one. It is still not available, and it is sold out. The pre-orders are sold out because GM apparently didn't know that people wanted EVs. Well, they do now. And the Cadillac Lyric is got good specs. It charges at home at 84 kilometers an hour. It's actually very fast charging capable at home. Probably use up all your whole grid. Have to tie into the grid separately or something. But you can charge 19 kilowatts an hour or something like that at home. 190 kilowatt fast charging, which is usable on the highway when you're fast charging, supercharging, and 100 kilowatt battery offering up to 480 kilometers of range and 300 miles. Those are the EVs to look forward to next year. So I wanted to talk about the state of autonomous driving. Brian Stockton, where are you on this? Every year, Elon says next year, a few months, couple weeks, we're going to... Well, guess what? The Tesla full self-driving beta is not full self-driving.
No, and we've talked about when it's going to come to Canada because, of course, that's what I care about because I paid for it and it's not yet available in Canada. We're going to be the next country to get the beta for full self-driving. And, but it's, I don't know. I really thought we would have it by the end of this year, but I guess I'm just naive.
I have a prediction that you're going to disagree with and be disappointed by. I predict we will not see it in Canada in calendar year 2022.
Wow. Well, I'm going to have to disagree with you there.
But you are blinded by Elon Light. That's what you are.
It's true, yes. I just want it so bad. I mean,
of course you do. We all do.
The
The Clean Energy Show will have its own full self-driving beta, hopefully, as soon as it comes to Canada, because you're a good driver, right? Right?
Yeah, well, and we can record the podcast while the car drives itself.
We'll set up a microphone in it. When do you think it's going to happen? What's the progress? It's slow. It's slow, man. I maintain my prediction that I've had before that Tesla will upgrade the hardware, both cameras and computers, before they move forward, and these things are not going to be backwards compatible as much as they would like them to be. That's my prediction. Do you have a prediction of this moving forward this year?
I mean, I think that's definitely a possibility. There's always been a question if the current Tesla hardware can actually do it. I think it can actually do it, but it might still remain a sort of a level 2, level 3 system whereby it will basically do everything, but it won't have the certification to be full self-driving and, still requires, driver to pay attention, which is level 2, which is what we have that already. So I think, having most of the features and still being level 2 is quite possible and quite possible with the current hardware. But you may be correct that it may require a little bit more juice to get to that robotaxi stage.
Now, that said, there are actual robotaxis operating in the United States, and, Korea just started at the end of this 2021, as with tests. So there are actual vehicles that are driverless that you get into, that you pay, but then people are saying it takes 20 minutes longer for the commute because it, doesn't turn left. It makes 2 rights or 3 rights or whatever, and things like that. But there's a lot of naysayers out there that say it's never coming. That's BS because it exists. And it's, you can't say this computer stuff doesn't get better as it goes along.
It's the one thing computers are known for.
All right, it's time for the exciting holiday gift guide for electrical utility that has everything in $3 billion price range.
Right. But I need to make a slight correction to the title. This is a holiday gift guide for the electrical utility that has everything except clean energy. So we've been talking about this a little bit because, I like to talk about small modular nuclear reactors because it raises James's blood pressure, and there's always a chance on every episode that I'm going to murder him.
Mm-hmm. Which will bring in ratings.
Yeah, that's true. Oh, can you imagine?
I can't.
So, so there was a story recently here in Canada, but this story is being replicated in many places around the world. They announced who's going to build the small modular nuclear reactor for Ontario, and I believe it's Hitachi, and they're talking about a $3 billion price tag. And whenever that comes up, I always think to myself, well, think of how many solar panels you could buy for that, how many batteries. So I decided to run the numbers. And I have great news for all the electricity utilities that are thinking about going nuclear. You don't have to. I've run the numbers, and it's even crazier than I thought it was going to be, like the amount of power that you can get. So let's run through this here. So let's talk about a $3 billion price tag, and this is Canadian dollars, but, just subtract 20 or 30%, and that'll give you American dollars. But I'm just working with Canadian numbers here. So $3 billion is the price tag that they're talking about for the small modular nuclear reactor. And guess how many megawatts approximately that will produce, James? Do you know?
$3 billion of solar panels?
No, this is the $3 billion solar modular nuclear reactor.
How many megawatts
do you think that'll get?
Okay. So a small solar farm is 10 megawatts. So it's got to be 10 megawatts. It's got to be a lot more than that. I would say at least 500 megawatts.
It is approximately 300 megawatts.
Really?
Yeah.
One small modular nuclear reactor is that.
Yeah. And of course, they can build these things of different sizes, I suppose. But this is a sort of a typical figure. This is what they're talking about in Ontario for the $3 billion. They're going to get 300 megawatts. Now, the good news is
that's 30 full solar farms.
But it's base load power, right? So this is constant power. So this is the benefit of nuclear and one of the excuses that they use for wanting to build them. But here's the thing. It's... you just add some batteries to this and it gets quite interesting. So in order to get the prices for the solar clean option, I went with the numbers from that solar farm in Alberta. So they're going to be building what is going to be the largest solar farm in Canada, which is 1.3 million solar panels. This is going to be the size of 1,600 football fields. That's Canadian football fields, which are slightly bigger than the American ones.
Take that, America.
And guess how many megawatts that will provide. And of course, this is not baseload power. This is only going to happen when the sun is shining. So the small modular nuclear reactor for $3 billion puts out 300 megawatts. This solar farm that already exists or is being built in Alberta, how many megawatts do you think that is?
300 megawatts?
It is 465 megawatts.
The solar farm that's already being built.
And it's already larger than a small modular reactor that's going to cost $3 billion. So we've got 1.3 million panels, the size of 1,600 football fields. And that is a lot of space, but, this is the second largest country in the world.
Brian, we got space. What we don't have is places to put nuclear waste or have meltdowns.
So what you have to do is add some battery storage to that. So, first of all, this largest solar farm in Canada, 465 megawatts, is going to cost $700 million. So we're already well under the $3 billion price tag. So we just need to add some batteries here.
I'm going to swear. You should have warned me to hook up my blood pressure monitor.
What's your blood pressure? So let's add approximately 770 megawatt hours of storage. That's going to cost about $300 million. So we're just up to $1 billion, and we get 465 megawatts, 770 megawatt hours of storage that can pump out 192 megawatts of power at any given time. So
what the living hell?
So this only is going to cost $1 billion. This would probably be the largest battery installation in Canada. But we can buy 3 of those that's only $1 billion. We could buy 3 of those.
I'm quitting the podcast.
For the same
this is
cost
BS.
as this modular reactor that does not exist yet, and the soonest it would exist is 2028. So for $3 billion, we're up to 3.9 million solar panels. This is enough to power 450,000 homes. It would take up 4,800 football fields and give us 1,395 megawatts of power, several times the 300 of the nuclear option. And that would give us 2,300 megawatts of storage, like a massive, massive amount of storage.
Okay. I'm stopping you now. This is Canada. This is not the most ideal place for solar. We have shorter days in the winter. We're talking to you on the shortest days of winter right now. The sun is lower in the sky. There's snow on some panels that have to be cleared off. And this is Canada.
Yeah.
This is not even the average for the world. This is Canada.
No, yeah. I mean, this would, in Arizona, this would get you a lot more juice.
Yes, and this is current prices because guess what? The damn nuclear reactors aren't going to be available for at least 10 years in reality. So then you look at the prices then, it's going to be twice as much. It's going to be twice as different. My head's exploding.
Next year, these prices will all be lower instead of higher, which is the likely option. So I looked up, so our province has 1 million people in it, and we have a total generating capacity of 4,533 megawatts. And the proposal I'm just talking about here is 1,395. So, you just do this 3 times over, it covers the entire province of Saskatchewan. And this 3 billion would probably, because we still have a dirty grid here in our province, the 3 billion would probably get rid of most of the dirty part of our grid and, clean up the whole province for $3 billion.
What are they talking about, Brian? They're talking about small modular nuclear reactors. Why are they talking about it? To prolong fossil fuels. Okay? That's the only damn reason why they're talking about it. Not because it's a solution to a problem that can't be solved.
These numbers were a lot more dramatic than I thought they were going to be.
Jesus H. God.
I thought it might be close, but it's not even close. So solar and batteries. And
that's
I'm just
today.
Guessing, of course. This is today. And I'm just guessing
Real
at
world
the
numbers
mix
today.
Of panels versus batteries.
And here's another thing. What you're not thinking about is wind, because you mix in wind and you need less solar because the wind blows more often at night. Then you need less batteries, right? You find that right mixture for the region.
That's true. So you could rework these numbers with,
and then it gets even probably crazier, I bet, because it's going to be improved, that whole number even. We don't have the technology to do that.
Batteries.
Jesus. Well done. Well done. You almost killed me.
This is the Clean Energy Show.
Let's get to the exciting, crazy Clean Energy Show year-end quiz show. Let's quiz Brian. Let's quiz Brian Stockton. Are you ready, sir?
Let's do it.
All right. I have a number of questions here compiled with clean energy related news. We have multiple choice answers. And let's get started with question number 1. There is enough U.S. solar capacity in 2021 to power how many million typical U.S. households? 5 million, 10 million, or 20 million?
Well, I have the figures kind of fresh in my head because I was just, looking at that solar farm research, and the U.S. is a large country, so I'm going to go with 20 million.
Congratulations. You are correct. Enjoy your chemical release from the ding. 20 million homes. There is enough solar capacity now in the United States to power 20 million homes. And of course, that is going to go a lot higher.
And I will add, there are only, 36 million Canadians. That's probably enough to power all the homes in Canada.
All right, here is another question for you, Brian Stockton, if you are ready. Are you ready, sir?
I am ready.
The world's largest wind turbine came online in October with 130 kilometers north of east of England. Okay, it's offshore. It's rated at 14 megawatt of electricity and can power how many typical European homes? 8,000, 18,000, or 180,000?
Well,
time's up.
the leap from number 2 to number 3 is quite a lot. So I'm going to go with number 2, 18,000 homes.
You are correct, sir.
I thought I was probably correct. Yeah.
100 or 18,000 European homes it can power. Congratulations. Another correct answer for you. We have question number 3, which I've blacked out. It is a mystery question. The first legacy automotive company to go bankrupt due to ignoring electric vehicles will be Mazda, Toyota, or Honda. This is a hypothetical question.
Yeah, well, who's going to decide? I guess we just have to keep revisiting this question every year at the end of the year?
Sure.
Okay.
What do you pick?
I'm going to go Mazda, as we say in Canada.
I've chosen Toyota.
Perhaps. I guess I went with Mazda because they've got not as far a distance to fall. Like, as we were talking about, Toyota is massive. They have a huge loyal fan base. So I was sort of thinking that their loyal fans will kind of bail them out a little bit longer than say Mazda, which is just smaller and can maybe go quicker.
All right, question number 4. Here we go. Are you ready, sir?
Yes.
On June 29th, 2021, the town of Lytton, BC, in British Columbia, Canada, broke the record high temperature for Canada several days in a row. That is to say, it set the Canadian record one day, then broke it the next day. How many days in a row did it break the Canadian temperature record before completely burning to the ground?
I believe that it was 3 days of record temperatures.
You are correct. 3 days in a row that Canadian temperature was broken, and then 90% of the town burned to the ground. Quite a story, quite a climate change story. And yes, scientists have determined that event was very unlikely without human-caused climate change.
And the extreme weather that we had this year, I think, was even more extreme than the weather we had in 2020. So we'll get set for more of that in 2022.
One U.S. state, this just happened recently, got its first ever tornado warning in winter, just a few days ago. Which state had its first tornado warning in history for the first time between November and February? Can you guess which state it was in the United States?
Well, I know which state had a massive tornado recently, so I guess I will guess that. I'm not sure what the timing is for what you're talking about.
Now, this is the first time that this state has ever seen a tornado warning between November and February. Keep that in mind.
I am going to say Kentucky.
It is Minnesota.
Wow.
Minnesota had a tornado warning.
That's practically Canada.
That is a place that could easily be minus 25 Celsius. Could even be 40 below Fahrenheit. It is a place that doesn't get tornado warnings in the middle of winter. This happened in mid-December 2021. Question 6. What newly released EV did Jake Fisher of the Consumer Reports Talking Cars podcast say is the first EV he'd actually ever consider owning? This happened recently.
Well, so this is a car, I guess, that's currently available?
Correct. Now, he would have probably reviewed this in the last year, and this is the first time he's come across an EV that he said he would actually own. Because remember, Consumer Reports is notoriously against Tesla.
Yeah.
Thumbs up, sir. What do you got?
I'm going to go Mustang Machi.
No. It is actually the Hyundai Ioniq 5.
Oh, wow. That was my first thought, but
Okay, question 7. The U.S., which had less than a gigawatt of large battery installations in 2020, roughly enough to power 350 homes for a handful of hours. So in 2021, grid batteries are anticipated that they are going to be what? Up to 50% year over year, double or sextuple what they were in 2020. This is the growth of battery installations on the U.S. grid.
can I phone a friend? Is that a thing we have?
What's that?
Can I phone a friend? Is that a thing we have?
Do you have a phone? Do you have a landline? Has to be a landline.
I don't have my phone here. Okay, I'm going to go with sextuple, number 3.
You, sir, are unfortunately correct.
That is a massive, massive increase.
Yes, that is crazy. And you know what the estimate is for not to increase that much in the next year, but they always do that. They always underestimate. No one predicted it would sextuple year over year from 2020 to 2021.
You just like saying sextuple.
I do like saying sextuple. I like to say sextuple. And we are still a non-explicit podcast, by the way. Question number 8, Brian, if you are ready. Which EV crossover, small SUV that is, small crossover SUV, does not start at $44,495 Canadian in Canada? Which crossover EV does not start at $44,495 in Canada? 1, the Hyundai Ioniq 5, the Volkswagen Id4, the Ford Mustang Machi, or the Kia Niro EV. Which one does not start at $44,000 and change?
Yeah, well, and this is the price barrier in Canada for the, EV tax rebates. So
Correct.
Basically, I'm picking the more expensive car out of this list, and I'm going to go with the Ford Mustang Mach-E.
Correct. The Ford Mustang Mach-E. By the way, good car. Blew a lot of people away. Then they keep coming out with cars. The Ioniq 5 came out, and people really like that. Very cool stylings and very cool performance and specs. Our last question this week, Brian, this year, in fact, is the following. What is the only country to be on track to meet its Paris Climate Pledge Agreement targets? Now, we talked about this once on the show, so the answer should be there in your memory somewhere.
And of course, the options are number 1, Gambia,
The UK.
number 2, the UK, number 3, Morocco, and number 4, Norway. Okay, well, I'm just going on what I vaguely remember from recording the podcast, because I don't listen to the show. I don't really care for it.
No, it's terrible.
But I do remember recording. I'm going to say Gambia.
Correct, sir. Gambia, sadly, is the only country. The only industrialized nation to come close, by the way, is the UK. And now, before we leave everyone for 2021, I want to ask you, what's your favorite movie of the year? I haven't seen a lot of them. I went through a lot of the top movies of the year lists, and I noticed I haven't seen them. Usually I see them the following year because, I wait for them to come on streaming or rentals. So do you have a favorite movie of the year in the last ever segment of Brian's Movie Corner?
Brian's Movie Corner.
For 2021. Okay, I do in fact have my favorite movie of the year, and it is Pig, starring Nicolas Cage.
Good movie. That is on my list of the movies that I have seen. I did see it because it's a streaming movie. No, it was a iTunes dollar rental. So I saw it on that.
I absolutely loved it. It's like the perfect low budget movie to me that, anybody who makes low budget movies would be thrilled, I think, to make a movie like that. You've got Nicolas Cage doing amazing work.
He makes 100 movies a year pretty much, and most of them are terrible.
A lot of movies every year.
He does not say no.
Yeah, but, this is the perfect one. Like, it's a very low-budget movie. You just need Nicolas Cage and a pig and a couple of other things.
Do you know I know his makeup artist? He has a permanent makeup artist who worked on Wolf Cop.
Right, yes. Somebody local here works with Nicolas Cage now.
And now she travels wherever he is. So when I'm on Facebook, I see her traveling. I know where Nick Cage's next movie is.
Yes, and we know some people who have produced movies with Nick Cage in Canada here.
Yes.
He just loves to work, I guess.
I guess.
Yeah, I really love that movie. I would highly recommend it. Pig with Nicolas Cage. It's just original and surprising, and you think maybe it's going to go a certain way, but it's always kind of fresh and original. Loved it.
Yeah, that was the one movie that I would say was a live-action drama that I saw that was on my list, one of the few ones that stood out. And of course, you go in with a bit lower expectations. But, we're always fans of movies that pull off being a good movie on a low budget. And sometimes you start depending on effects and large-name actors and large casts and sweeping vistas and things like that. I will say that My Octopus Teacher really had an effect on me. That is a Netflix documentary, I believe. I think that won the Academy Award for Best Documentary last year, but it came on streaming this year.
Yeah, I enjoyed it too.
And Mitchell's Viz the Machines. My wife fell asleep, by the way, during My Octopus Teacher at the two most crucial moments of the film, where two remarkable things happen that I cannot talk to her about because she needs to rewatch the film sometime. So you fall asleep during the film. And I've set my Alexa to detect snoring, which really annoys her. But I had her agree to it. It's not like I forced it upon her. We came to an agreement that after midnight, if it detects snoring, it would encourage politely the person to go up to their comfortable bed to sleep instead. So, but I noticed it even works during movies. It finds the snoring within the movie. Do you, sir, have any predictions for the clean energy space for the coming year?
I predict this podcast will be the most successful clean energy podcast on the planet.
You are correct. Absolutely. That is a given. And we'd like to thank everyone who does listen to our show and wish them a happy 2022. I predict that solar will come down in price, that EVs will tip and become mainstream. Your neighbor will be talking about buying one. Everybody will be talking about buying one. As combustion vehicles start to permanently become the old news, the lesser choice. That's what I predict. I predict wind power will change. I predict we will move hard on the climate. I predict the United States will do very little, but the states that care will. And yes, we'll creep closer to an autocracy in the States. Contact us, cleanenergyshow@gmail.com, cleanenergypod on Twitter and TikTok, speakpipe.com/cleanenergyshow. We're on YouTube as well. And everyone, thank you for listening. We'll see you in 2022.
See you in the new year.